Hello peeps and peepettes, and welcome to a very long-awaited edition of Spec Commentaries. It's going to be an exhilarating one, a topic in which I've been meaning to talk about for the last several days since I first was embellished upon it, so to speak. The whole wrestling world was, but I hope you all enjoy this. It is the 13th edition of Spec Commentaries, courtesy of B-Spec Productions and also IYHWrestling.com, a very awesome place to get all your news and information and just basically to enjoy yourself as a wrestling fan amongst the banter and also the cool side projects that are associated with that website. So a big plug to IYHWrestling.com. You guys have been good to me over the years, and I'm a proud member of the Hall of Fame and a proud member of that site, and I could not say enough great things about that site. So thank you very much to IYHWrestling.com for giving me another platform for this, and also my company, B-Spec Productions, in which you can check out on Facebook.com/BSpecProd. That's BSPECPROD. But enough of me plugging my own stuff. It's time to get to the nitty-gritty on the 13th edition of Spec Commentaries. And on this edition, I'm going to discuss what occurred 2 days ago with the Nature Boy Ric Flair returning to the WWE. Now, it has been speculated that this isn't a prolonged stay for the Nature Boy. However, just to see the Nature Boy Ric Flair on WWE television again was definitely a pleasure. Unfortunately, I didn't see it live. I had to wait until after the show ended because I didn't get home in time to actually see him re-debut in the WWE. But I did check out several YouTube clips and saw all of the exhilarating things that did occur on that night. It was an awesome Raw, but it was even more profound because of Ric Flair's presence on the show. So, basically, this topic is the return of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, to WWE. Now, it has been speculated over the last several weeks, and if not months, that Ric Flair was nearing a return to the WWE. A lot of internet rumors out there had placed Ric Flair as to saying that he really hoped to come back to the company, and also talking about his time in TNA, which was pretty decent, depending upon someone's perspective. I happen to find the guy entertaining regardless of what role he is in, also whatever company he is in. But the fact that he made a WWE appearance on the special edition Slammy Awards on Raw, 3-hour episode there, was quite a shocker to me when I heard it. However, when I did see the clip, I just could not be more impressed by Ric Flair every time I see him. Now, many people might, and I've seen the critics out there on the in the internet, on the IWC Internet Wrestling community, about Ric Flair being as old as he is and carrying on and whatnot, being so-called man-child, so to speak. However, Ric Flair is not going to change who he is, and quite frankly, the fans don't want him to change. And it was pretty evident in Philadelphia on Raw when Ric Flair came out. His music came out, the traditional Ric Flair music, and the fans just popped. And the reason why the fans popped is not just because Philadelphia is a very big hardcore city for wrestling, not necessarily in the words hardcore, of course, ECW and whatnot, but they are very passionate wrestling fans. And Ric Flair wrestled at the Civic Center there in Philadelphia, the Spectrum, when he was in the WWE on several different occasions, and the fans respect Ric Flair throughout the country. But it's even more profound in the South and also in the Northeast. They really get a really kick out of the guy. And what's not to like about Ric Flair? Every time he's out there, he feeds off the fans' emotions, and this was just as evident in Philadelphia on Monday. Ric Flair came out. He was going to be the presenter, and he was the presenter for WWE's Wrestler of the Year, which did go to John Cena, but the award itself was overshadowed because Ric Flair made his return there. When he walked out, the fans loved him, and when he got on that mic, as I mentioned before, he fed off the fans' energy, and they fed off his energy as well. They were with every word that he said, every movement he made, every joke that he exclaimed. Everybody in that arena seemed to really want some of the Nature Boy, and as I mentioned before, why not? He proceeds to say that he's back, and He's got mad respect for John Cena, and although the fans did not necessarily care that much when John Cena came up, that wasn't really the case. John Cena simply gave Ric Flair his props, but still the fans couldn't stand John Cena. So after all of that occurred, John Cena, for reasons I have absolutely none about, John Cena basically gave the award to Ric Flair, I guess because Ric Flair is just such a great wrestler, the best wrestler you ever saw and whatnot. That portion didn't make that much sense. However, Ric Flair took the award, and before Ric Flair could really say much more, for the fans to get off John Cena, CM Punk comes up. And CM Punk, one of my favorite wrestlers in the WWE, that's no secret if you know me. And also if you have seen some of my previous editions, cheap plug here, I did the Secluded Paradigm number 20 on CM Punk, his IWA, and also his years with Ring of Honor. Hope you guys and gals check that out also on Spec Prod on my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Spectacular Sunset or Mr. Brightwave. I do have that one as well on my second YouTube channel. But anyways, CM Punk comes out, and everybody knows CM Punk's really great on the mic, especially if you just let him go out there and ad-lib. You give him some bullet points, you let him go. Even while he's injured, CM Punk is still, to me, the best person on the mic in the WWE by far. However, when you include a guy like the Nature Boy Ric Flair, when he immediately steps out, overshadows 95% of the roster by the stuff that he can come up with, you have a great dynamic there for a great segment, and it was that. CM Punk confronted Ric Flair, basically said, I've been the WWE champion for over 390 days, well over 12 months, near 13 months, and hey, I deserve to be Wrestler of the Year. And quite frankly, I agree with Punk. But let's keep in the confines of the storyline here. Punk is very agitated by Ric Flair being called the man, and Ric Flair, and then CM Punk basically says, no, I'm the man. I've been the WWE champion. I deserve the respect. I deserve the credit. And said he can beat Ric Flair up even with one leg. So Ric Flair takes offense to this, and of course Paul Heyman is accompanying CM Punk around the aisle, and also at the podium and down the aisle and whatnot into the ring with the WWE Championship. And this is just on another matter. Paul Heyman, I think, gets way too much crap over the last couple of months by being aligned with CM Punk. He's not speaking much, but when Paul Heyman speaks, you listen, and he adds, to me, a lot of depth in CM Punk's character. It makes CM Punk to be more realistic, since he's always proclaimed himself being a Paul Heyman guy. It just makes sense to me that Paul Heyman is with him and is his mouthpiece, and I think it's a great distraction from the fans from Brock Lesnar, not being in the WWE at the current time. And I think Paul Heyman is doing his role as best as he can for what he's been given. But that's on another level. But nevertheless, Ric Flair goes right down to the ring, and he basically says, hey, come and bring it, CM Punk. But CM Punk proceeds to actually take it to Ric Flair by essentially using his crutch and just slamming Ric Flair right over the back with it. And that proceeds to him and Ric Flair brawling. And then Ric Flair puts Paul Heyman in the figure 4 leg lock. All of that's fine and dandy. And then the Shield, which I think is a fantastic group in the WWE right now. I think they've been booked very, very solidly. I just hope it's not overkill with a lot of the attacking that they're doing, but that's sort of another story. They attack Ric Flair, and they also basically help out CM Punk and Paul Heyman. Kane and Daniel Bryan proceed, the WWE Tag Team Champions, proceed to come down there to Ric Flair's aid, and then they're eventually attacked by the Shield, who bound together to try to get to them after Ric Flair's hurt. Then the Shield tries to put Ric Flair through the announce table, supposedly speaking, and then after that you have Ryback, who I think doesn't have that much upside to me in the WWE. He is in this real big feud with the Shield. They just came off of the defeat against the Shield in TLC the previous night, and he goes roughshod over the Shield, and eventually everything is cleared, and Ryback looks pretty decently strong for the moment. But the bottom line is, Ric Flair was the star of that segment. regardless of what you think the outcome would have been, should have been, or whatnot. The bottom line is the fans were able to see the Nature Boy Ric Flair back in the WWE spotlight, where he belongs to me. It's the biggest company in the world. It's the company in which, to me, the WWE did just a fantastic job in really using Ric Flair throughout his tenure there. Many people don't actually take into account that the guy was actually in the WWE, contracted by the WWE for darn near close to 7 years, and that's very, very impressive through the fact that he had built that relationship up with that company after 2001. That's not including his time in the early 90s, of course, but the fact that he was there for 7 years gave Ric Flair a very much needed platform to reestablish his character, and also to entertain the masses out there who remembered who he was, and also the young fans who inspired to actually know who this guy was that was styling and profiling that they have seen videos of, or actually watched some clips while he was in WCW during the late 90s towards the tail end of his run there. So overall, it was just great to see the Nature Boy back in the WWE. I was pleased with it. I hope that they can come to some sort of long-term agreement with him. It'll be great to see Ric Flair back in the WWE in several capacities, one of which being just a promoter of the WWE, a so-called spokesman for their product. I think he's great doing that. I mean, right here down south in the Carolinas, he's been doing that routinely through the lottery, or through some other business initiatives, real estate or whatnot. Regardless of his so-called failed businesses, he is promoting several different third-party parties as well. Not politically speaking, but in the business world, so to speak. And it's great to see him back in the WWE. I hope that he's going to be there for a very long time. I have a really good suspicion that once his legal finances once his legal finances with his latest ex-wife, and also some of the dealings he's been doing with TNA on the side in terms of legalities, I hope that eventually that all of that will actually subside and he can come to some sort of agreement with the WWE. And I think that once that does happen, and I think it could happen in either sometime at the end of this year, I know there's several days left for the end of this year, or he can do that in early 2013. It'll be great to see Ric Flair back, whether it be managing Dolph Ziggler in some sort of capacity that has been rumored and speculated throughout the internet and by several fans, such as myself. I would love to see that. However, Ric Flair can do WWE Classics on Demand things. He did the Legends show. I don't think Flair was great in that role, but hey, he is a legend and he can provide insight on certain subjects that many people might affiliate that with in regards to Ric Flair. There's still several DVDs, and to me, that you can put out for Ric Flair. It's just not necessarily a documentary form or something like that, but to me, it's something that I think fans will like to see, like a Best of Ric Flair matches set or something like that. Best of the Clash involving Ric Flair. I mean, you can think of so many different things about Ric Flair and Sting. Hopefully they'll get in an agreement with Sting too, but that's on another could be secluded paradigm or Spec commentaries. But for this edition of Spec commentaries, I just wanted to share my thoughts about Ric Flair returning to WWE on Raw on December the 17th, 2012, on the 3-hour episode Slammy Award winning edition, so to speak, of Raw. It was great to see him back. Nature Boy, I hope you're doing well, and I hope the fans will continue to comment and so-called speculate. That's what we do as fans about Ric Flair. It's always great when the Nature Boy is around, and it's always great to actually discuss the Nature Boy on Spec commentaries or any other social media platform. But for now, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in to Spec Commentaries, the 13th edition, audio edition, just like the earlier editions of Spec Commentaries. Hope you all enjoyed this. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, wherever day this is. Make sure you tune in to ROHWrestling.com, and also make sure you tune in to B-Spec Productions. I'm all over the place, peeps and peepettes, music and pro wrestling. YouTube.com/B Mr. Brightwave on my music side, and youtube.com/spectacularsunset on the wrestling side. And if you need to hook up with me, I'm also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/bspecprod. So without further ado, this has been Spec Commentaries 13, a very special edition concerning Ric Flair's return to the WWE on Monday Night Raw, Slammy edition. Thanks, peeps and peepettes, and I'll check you out next time.